We are celebrating the creative sounds of our city and the artists who make them. On this episode of The Arts Page, meet the two Milwaukee musicians of 1913, combining symphonic strings and solid beats. See the shape and science of sound dancing on canvas through bass structures. And be captivated by the careful choreography and good vibrations of the Milwaukee Handbell Ensemble. That's all coming up now on The Arts Page. Welcome to The Arts Page. I'm your host, Sandy Maxx. Music made in Milwaukee comes in all kinds of styles, from traditional to distinctly different. First, we meet a truly dynamic duo of cello and drums. Cellist Janet Schiff has trained classically at the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music and with a variety of renowned cellists. Her musical influences range from A to Z, Amadeus to Zeppelin. So when she collaborated with another local musician, something special happened. Multi-talented drummer Victor DeLorenzo, well known as a founding member of the folk punk band Violent Femmes, brings his seasoned style and sensibility to the band they call 1913. And together, they're creating a musical sound that defies time.
For us, the music is an expression of what we are doing now, what we hope to do in the future, and also a tip of the hat paying allegiance to what has come before us.
My name is Janet Schiff, and I'm a cellist and composer. The cello is an instrument I can embrace. I believe the cello can represent the human voice and even the human body with its size. And it's a challenge to play, but also a pleasure, a way for me to express emotion and all the ranges of emotions.
My name is Victor DeLorenzo, and I'm an actor, a writer, and a musician. I finally decided that I would be looking into the world of drums when I had a phone call from my cousin telling me that a friend of his was going to be going to Vietnam and he had a drum set to sell. And did I know of anyone that might be interested in buying the drum set to help his friend out? And then I started playing along to Beatle records. And then I got into the blues and jazz, and that's where I got the idea of how to take jazz brushes and play them in a rock format. So the challenge for me was, how do I suggest or in some way emulate the sound of a whole drum set just on one drum? So the brushes helped me do that, how I divided up the rhythm and how one hand was doing something different from the other.
I first met Victor when I was a waitress at Heinemann's restaurant. And I had just got my first batch of business cards made, and a waitress came into the kitchen going like this, "Victor DeLorenzo from the Violent Femmes is in my section." I'm like, "Where?" And I brought some coffee and my business card, and I went, and he invited me to sit down. I almost lost my job because I sat down and gave him my card. That was a seed I planted 20 years ago. We were put on an experimental project, and at the end of a 3-concert series, I asked if he would want to work with me sometime. I invited Victor to come play at a concert with me, and he did. So that was the beginning of 1913 as a band.
So we played the show, went over very well. At the end of the night, packing up the drums, I talked to Scott Johnson, who was the other drummer, who I just met that evening. I said, "Scott, it was so wonderful to have you here playing this evening, because I don't know what I'd do if you weren't here. I didn't know any of the material." And he goes, "I thought you knew the material." And I said, "Well, you mean you've never played with Janet before either?" And he goes, "No, I haven't." So Janet the little trickster that she is, she invited us both there that night, just knowing a little bit about our playing, of course, but not knowing what the mixture was going to be when it was all put together. But luckily it turned out to be quite a thing of beauty, and we continued to play, the three of us, for I think it was about, 2 years before we decided to go just the duo route.
The band name 1913 comes from the year that the cello was made. This particular cello is a petite cello, which is great for someone with smaller hands. It was built in 1913 in Romania, and the maker was named Babos Bela. We fit into the category of chamber rock. I use a looping pedal, so I try to make an orchestra of strings, and I depend on the rhythm to make that orchestra, and then it gets embellished with more complex rhythms as the layers of the cello grow. We don't come to the stage with pre-recorded cello loops. It's made, each layer is made at each concert, and so it's customized for the audience. Constantly improvising with a structure in mind most of the time. We'd like to build a unique experience for every listener.
The music that we're playing now is a music that is in transition. When we first started playing together, Janet had a lot of wonderful material that myself and either Scott or another drummer would interpret the material. But since we've decided to go as a duo now, it's opened up a lot more possibilities for us, because we both play other instruments besides the instruments that we're known for. The music we're starting to offer is a combination of all different kinds of styles and feels and different musical genres we're trying to blend together. There are other dimensions to us rather than just a set of drums and a cello.
I'm really drawn to the structure and predictability sometimes of rock music, so I found a way to merge classical, my training, and my love for pop and rock with drums and lots of cello.
We have a taste for improvisation, which figures into some of the music that we play.
Victor's precision with drums is impeccable. He also has this amazing experimental side that at any time he can go back to being very structured. He's not only the best percussionist I've ever worked with, he's also a big entertainer that way.
I feel fortunate that I found someone like Janet that has a like-minded attitude towards music and performance.
We just have so much fun working together that I find that in itself inspiring. Our goal is to blow people's minds. We like to mesmerize people. We like to take them on a journey. Essentially, I'm time traveling when I hook my 1913 cello up to today's technology. I just really want to share our music.
What Janet and I have is a very divine and very focused love of what we do as musicians and what we do together as musicians. People always find something about the music that they can relate to, our music. They can find a way into what we're doing. There is a real emotion and a heartfelt soul to what we do.
What we thought 1913 could be. It's not just cello and drums anymore.
1913's recent album, Music for Time Travel, includes a tribute to the late David Bowie and a beautiful rendition of Summertime, featuring the singer Manya and the late American composer and bassist Rob Wasserman. Hear more of 1913's music and check out their performance schedule on their website, 1913.com. You can obviously hear music, but some artists want you to be able to see music too. Meet Emmanuel Fritz of Milwaukee and Collin Schipper of Michigan, who met while studying at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. At MIAD, they became very interested in cymatics, the science of visualizing audio frequencies. Their curiosity and experimentations have led them to create bass structures.
People don't think about the fact that sound has a shape at all, and it does, and this really makes you think about that. And so it can be very shocking to walk into the room and there's, paint dancing. My name is Emmanuel Fritz, and I'm an artist.
My name is Collin Schipper. I'm a pseudo-acoustical engineer and an artist. My art mainly focuses on how sound and the tactile world interact with each other, focusing a lot on the use of technology.
A lot of what I focus on with my artwork is light. Honestly, how light is being used in the material, just energy flows and things like that, which is, I think, how our two worlds kind of mesh together so well. There was one day that we came across these videos of cymatics, and we saw how sound affects the physical world in these very measurable ways. We were thinking, how can we take it from a scientific study, and turn it into art? How can we start making paintings and sculptures and capturing sound in different ways?
Which is around the time we started looking more into why on earth is this happening, because it was perfectly repeatable. As I played the piece, we had the same shapes happening. And it was amazing because the second that tone stopped, instead of it rippling out or anything like that, we were watching this pool of water just completely go flat again and just go back to note. First, it was mostly about studies on these very specific frequencies and shapes and what we could do with that, which has since evolved quite a bit.
Bass structures, the mark of sound, is a multidimensional art, music, and science experience. You hear music and you see paint just flying up in the air and working with the music. As different beats hit or different frequencies are pulsing through the canvas.
We keep playing with the paint, adding and trying to manipulate that medium. So we go from these very explosive reactions more to a sculptural form that starts to take shape as the paint is actually filling in the pockets in the sound waves. So it's this very evolving sculpture. We were typically more interested in the process itself than the end result. Watching this painting take shape that we didn't have to touch. We're controlling it, but we're not physically touching it anymore. How many people are really going to be interested in a 40 hertz waveform? I am, but that's not normal.
All the engineers in the room are.
Yes, yes. To try to get it to something that is more relatable to a broader audience, we started bringing in more musical elements.
We have Caleb Andersen, who's come on to help a lot with the music, to have something that's really danceable. Caleb really let us loosen up and jive with it a little bit. We're really interested in how the way that you put notes together changes not only the painting, but the way that the painting is moving. We also have Mike Lagerman, who's our director of photography, helping us document everything as we're going along. Taking pictures of our pieces and video of the work as it's happening. The tall one there we like to call Dr. Ig. It's a low frequency system, so when there's bass and other low frequencies, it'll move more. The newest is that little one right there. That's fresh off the presses. This is actually the first time that it'll be performing outside of the studio.
We use a lot of synthesizers. One of the reasons for that is that we can absolutely completely shape the waveform. By being able to tweak just the minutest little elements of the actual wave shape, I can really manipulate that. So we're playing with small little synthesizers and sequencers, and then also using turntables to bring in some samples and manipulation.
So we started by saying that the piece is done when the paint stops moving. When we can turn it off and it's not going to change at all. The paint dries and kind of settles, and then there's some really interesting things that have come out of there.
You need a lot of power in order to get these higher frequencies, but also as the paint's drying, you need more power to continue moving it. And so there are occasions where the painting is done when we run out of watts, or ability to continue increasing volume. And it's become this very jazz conversation that we have with the painting.
Art offers a really unique place to grow, to take something that you know and try to turn it up on its head. And that, for me, is a really important part of innovation.
As much as we are amazed by these phenomena, we want to understand them. And with understanding them, you can go further and manipulate more. With this, we're trying to use sound as our brush, so we want to be able to control it in some way, and so understanding the technology is important in order to understand the tools and how to use it.
It seems to reach people in a lot of different ways.
All we're really looking to do is create intrigue and create excitement.
If you are intrigued and excited by what these gentlemen are creating, check out their portfolio of experimental videos and images on the Bass Structures website at bassstructures.wordpress.com. From bass structures to bell ringing, a handbell performance is an impressive thing to watch. It's a physical, organized, and intricate way to perform beautiful harmonies together as a group. The members of the Milwaukee Handbell Ensemble share with us how the instruments and the people bring this music to life.
It's a musical gymnastics that happens, and it's such a coordinated event that when your eyes can't imagine, how can all these people be exactly right on the beat, that everything happens just as it's supposed to? To me, that's kind of the magic in the whole thing. My name is John Benke, and I'm the director of the Milwaukee Handbell Ensemble. Bells were in towers of churches, and the churches wanted to actually be unique, to distinguish themselves one from another. So they invented a melody, okay? Bum, 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 bum. Westminster chimes, the quarters that we know about, that change ringing pattern, started as distinguishing Westminster Abbey. Bell companies discovered they could make smaller bells, handbells, handbells. English handbell is the style of what the bell is, because the bell rings with a clapper on one direction, and it's controlled that way. As the wrist moves forward, the clapper hits, and then you'd come back and you'd damp here on the shoulder, like so. I think it was mostly social, more than anything, but eventually there were ringers that got together in little teams and would play. Well, they discovered, well, we can play almost any type of music. There's probably 250,000 bell choirs in the United States across the country. You'll have kids that are 4 and 5 years old, all the way up to, octogenarians playing bells, which is exciting. Milwaukee Handbell Ensemble, this is our 13th year now. And it actually comes as an outgrowth from my work at Concordia University, where I worked with the undergraduate program there. Well, those undergraduates grow up, they graduate, they stay in the area, and they still want to ring, and they want to ring music of a certain level. These people can ring. I mean, they're good ringers. They have good experience. Most of them have been ringing 20 or 30 years. These musicians are playing two notes mostly, two diatonic notes, plus then the chromatics that proceed around it. So the scale is made up of four people playing a scale of 8 notes. I mean, every subdivision of a 16th note is in exactly the right place, played by different people, not by the same person playing it, which is a really different approach to music. But to me, it's an exciting approach to music. All the bells that you have are in various sets. We have a 6-octave set of bells that we use. And you need the players that are strong enough to be able to lift the lowest bells or play the high bells. There are groups that wear gloves. Gloves signifying the respect for the instrument, that it's not a toy or a plaything. Also that the sweat and perspiration of the hand doesn't get on the metal, because it eventually starts to corrode the metal of the bell. We have tables, special tables that have foam on them, 3 or 4 inch foam, which then cushions the bell. We can do various techniques on the table using the foam, called martellato. The echo technique is you strike the bell, and then you touch on the foam. And you can hit it with mallets. You can use your thumbs and fingers to dampen in various ways. There's really a multitude of ways that the bell can be struck. The composition itself is the full score. It looks like a piano score, except it has a lot more notes sometimes. I mean, let's face it, you only have 10 fingers. Okay, when you have 61 or 72 bells, you can play more bells at one time than you can with fingers. And so there's a bells needed chart that's up at the beginning, so the ringer kind of knows what to anticipate. And then the techniques are marked throughout the music. There's things where we just use mallets and we're actually hitting on tables, or we're hitting on the music stands themselves, not just hitting on the bells. So we can provide percussive effects beyond the bells even that takes place. We do some things that are unique to bell choirs in the sense that we memorize some music. That's not easy because you're picking out your notes in the middle of all the context and you're trying to remember patterns that take place. But when they memorize the music, the interaction between the ringers is incredible because they start to sense, oh, we're doing all this together. Or now it goes up the way and comes down. I mean, they can actually feel and flow. It becomes almost like ballet in a sense that you visually see what happens in the music. It comes to life in the movements of the ringers. My experience has been that when people actually see a good bell choir, they are fascinated by it. They're just amazed because, you know, how do you do all this? How do these people play these couple of notes or 3 notes or 4 notes and meld together with all the rest of the organization and make music and make a musical sound and make a musical composition come to life? It's not easy. It really isn't. It's not only the rhythm and to have precise rhythm and good musicality, it's also that it has to be done the right way. Music has a way of communicating much more than words can communicate. And so I hope they'll experience all sorts of emotions and feelings throughout a concert and come out with a sort of amazement or wonder like that was beautiful, and I want to come back again.
You can see the Milwaukee Handbell Ensemble during their performance with the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra at the Holiday Pop Spectacular coming up in December. Check out their full performance schedule and enjoy more of their music at their website, milwaukeehandbells.org. Learn more about our show and catch up on episodes you may have missed when you visit the Milwaukee Public Television website at mptv.org and click on the Arts page. And please like us on Facebook at the Arts page. You'll get updates on artists you've seen on the show and share your feedback and ideas. The next episode of the Arts page will be a special half hour devoted to one of our city's cultural treasures and lakefront landmark, the Milwaukee Art Museum. You'll meet the curators and get personal tours inside some of the newly renovated galleries. See some of your favorite artworks and discover what's new. I'm Sandy Maxx. Thank you for watching, and please join us next time on The Arts Page.